This is the Razer Blade 15. It is the newest laptop that Razer has showcased during CES 2022. And yes, we are one of the first in Malaysia to get our hands on it, and I managed to play around with it for a couple of weeks. And oh boy, this is some really powerful hardware. Okay, so this review is going to come with a twist. Why? Because I want to look at this laptop not only from the gamer's perspective, but from the creator as well. So with that, let's start off with what I'm looking for as a gamer. As a gamer, there are 4 things that I look at: portability, immersion, performance, and comfort. Alright, so let's start with portability. Now, I understand that gaming laptops are powerful devices and sometimes they can be big and bulky. But come on people, it's 2022. It's time to put that excuse aside, right? Luckily, the Razer Blade 15 checks all the boxes there. It comes in at 2 kilograms with a thickness of only 17mm. It is made of metal, and while it looks sweet with that minimalistic design, thank God it doesn't look like an alien mothership or something that came out of a sci-fi movie. But the edges, they are kind of sharp. It's not sharp enough to break skin, but it would be nice if they could just file it down just a tad bit. Alright, moving on to immersion. What am I talking about? That's right, it's the display. And if you guessed right, then give yourself a pat on the back while you hit that sub and bell icon so I can do more stupid like this. Now, the Razer Blade 15 comes in a few different display configurations, but the one that I have here is a 15.6-inch QHD display that supports a refresh rate of 240Hz. Straight off the bat, the display is magnifique. The colors are punchy and it's just an overall beautiful display to look at. I personally like vibrant colors, and playing games like Cyberpunk 2077, it's really just fantastic to look at. Coupled with that refresh rate of 240Hz, if you want to get competitive, you can as well, which is nice because you get the best of both worlds. Now, aside from all of that, I also include speakers into my immersions, and the speakers are really loud. It's a bit lacking on the bass for me, but you can adjust that through the THX Sparkle Audio app. But this app works far more better if you connect a pair of headphones to the laptop. From there, you can choose from a range of presets or tune up the EQ according to your liking. Alright, and now for the most important part, performance. The Razer Blade 15 is a decked out beast of a machine. Again, there are different variants, but the one that we have here comes with an Intel Core i7-12800H, 32GB of DDR5 RAM, 1TB of M.2 storage, and an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080 Ti. If you think that's powerful, you're damn right, because this is possibly the only laptop that I tried that managed to run Control on the highest graphics preset with ray tracing set to high, and it manages 50 FPS. Yes, I know it doesn't hit that sweet 60 FPS spot, but it is still very playable. On a laptop, mind you, a laptop. Games like Forza 5, I'm getting about 60 FPS, while Cyberpunk 2077 struggles a bit on ray tracing on the highest settings and gets about an average of 40 FPS. I know it's not a very stable game, but hence why I wanted to include it in. And finally, Metro Exodus, once again on the highest graphical setting and ray tracing settings, I'm getting an average of 70 FPS. Now remember, all these games are being played on the QHD resolution. So if you're willing to turn down certain graphical settings or even the resolution to full HD, you should see a significant boost in performance. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a gaming laptop if it didn't give you some options to tweak the performance. In this case, that is the Razer Central app, which allows you to control things like the performance profile or set a custom profile on both the CPU and the GPU. Speaking of that, the same app also allows you to control the lighting on the laptop, from the LED logo on the back lid to the keyboard's backlighting. And of course, for those of you who are feeling creative, the Chroma Studio is also available, allowing you to create a one-of-a-kind custom backlighting setup. Alright, so it's safe to say that this is a pretty dang powerful laptop, but the most important factor, is it comfortable? Now here's the tricky part, right? So for the most part, it's a very simple and easy to use laptop. But the one thing I dislike about this laptop is the keyboard. While the keycaps are big and spacing is also good, the travel distance is just not great. It's quite shallow for my liking, and it's about the same level as a MacBook Pro. It's fine when you're playing an FPS games or games that require the WASD area of the keyboard. But if you're gonna play an MMORPG like Final Fantasy XIV, then that's where a lot of the issues will start to show. There are a lot of buttons to press, and accuracy is where it falls short. It's also quite tricky to type, especially if you need to send a strongly worded message to someone who is being an in the game. Heat to me also falls under comfort, because if my palms are going to be resting on the laptop, I shouldn't feel the heat, right? And so far, it's pretty good. The palm area stays relatively cool, and heat is more focused towards the top and the sides of the keyboard. But when you're looking at the actual thermals, this laptop does run pretty hot at 81 degrees max on the graphic card and about 85 degrees on the processor, with some of the cores even reaching 100 degrees based on hardware monitor. Now for sure, some thermal throttling is definitely happening here because the processor never reaches the advertised 4.8 GHz. But then again, for something that is running so hot and yet the whole laptop doesn't feel like smoldering metal, I'd say the thermal's pretty good. Now it's time for the creator's perspective. As a creator, there are just three things that I'm looking at: display quality, performance, but not in gaming, rather in render times, and connectivity. Alright, so the display quality is very important to a creator, especially on the colors. If the color accuracy is bad, then color correction on videos and pictures are just gonna go out the window. But in the case of the Razer Blade 15 display, I'm really happy with how it looks. The color reproduction here is great, and the dynamic range is great as well. But aside from that, it does support 100% of the DCI-P3 color gamut. Now, no doubt that this display does feel a bit oversaturated, but this kind of thing comes down to preference. Personally, I do like slightly saturated colors, while others might be looking for more of a balance. So it's a bit tricky to tell you if this display is gonna work for you, because it is something that you just have to try for yourself and make your own judgment. Okay, so next is performance in terms of render time. So I use Premiere Pro a lot in my work because, you know, YouTube and whatnot, right? And I'm really happy with the render times, as I can get a 5-minute video filled with alpha footage and motion graphics and color grading out in just under 3 minutes. Now, of course, with a 12th Gen Core i7 and a 3080 Ti, it doesn't really impress me much because I kind of expected it to be that fast. But aside from Premiere Pro, I do dabble quite a bit in the Unreal Engine, and I created this simple glass office which I got the assets of the Unreal market. Now, rendering the scene took me about 5 minutes, and mind you, the render quality is set to the highest possible settings. Now, I do understand that this is a pretty small scene, but what is impressive is that the laptop manages to do all the setup of the assets and even the lighting in real time, which is very impressive because there was no lags or even shutters or slowed down when I was setting up this entire scene on the Blade 15. Finally, connectivity. First of all, thank you Razer for including an SD card reader. You have no idea what type of godsend this is for creators. But aside from that, there is also a Thunderbolt 4 port, a USB Type-A, HDMI 2.1 and a Kensington lock on the right side. On the left side, you will find 2 more USB Type-A ports, a USB Type-C, a headphone jack and Razer's proprietary charging port. I'm personally really happy with the amount of ports inside this laptop. I think that it's more than enough to hook up a couple of external storages while expanding the display to a few other monitors if you need to. Okay, I know I said 3, but I think that this is the perfect place to slot in the battery performance, which is not bad, but not great either. On normal usage, I'm getting close to 4 hours of battery life, and that drops significantly to less than 2 hours if I'm doing some video editing while the laptop is not plugged in. But lucky enough, the charging brick is not massive, so I'm still willing to carry it around. Oh, and it will take a little less than 2 hours to get a full charge. Alright, final thoughts. I think that this is quite possibly the most powerful laptop that I've ever tested, and I'm pretty happy with what it offers for both the gamers as well as the creators. But as of now, if you have the budget to buy this laptop and can live with the fact that it does run hot and the keyboard is perhaps not the greatest, then this is something that you really can consider for both gaming as well as content creation. But that's all I have for the Razer Blade 15, guys. Let me know what you think about this laptop in the comments below, and I will see you in the next video.